Hey dog lovers, this is Jackson. Welcome back to Positively Good Tips. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to share something that happened at the dog park last week. I saw a frustrated owner trying to force their German Shepherd to play with the other dogs, even though the pup didn't want to, and it really inspired me to make this video. So today, we're covering something really important that every pet parent needs to know. There are 13 things that dogs absolutely hate that humans do, and you might be doing some of them without even realizing it. By the end of this video, you'll understand your furry friend so much better, and you'll know exactly how to keep your pup happy. Plus, I'll share some helpful tips on how to fix these common mistakes. One of the easiest traps to fall into is forcing your dog into uncomfortable situations. This often happens during walks when you see another dog or person. Sure, you have the cutest, friendliest dog and want them to say hi, but your dog doesn't always want to interact with others. It's like when you were a kid and your parents made you say hello to unfamiliar adults. Remember how uncomfortable that felt? Well, let me tell you about my golden retriever Max. Despite being a typically friendly breed, he went through a phase where he was nervous around men with hats. Instead of forcing him to get over it, we worked at his pace. We'd maintain a comfortable distance and reward him for staying calm. Over time, he became more confident, but it happened on his terms. When your dog is scared or nervous, you might notice them getting low or avoiding others. Their tail might tuck between their legs or even wag stiffly. They might look away, show the whites of their eyes, or pant more than usual. These stress signals are your dog's way of communicating, and it's crucial we learn to listen. If you notice these signs, give your dog some extra space. Speaking of making your dog comfortable, here's something many people overlook: the importance of routine. While your dogs probably enjoy occasional adventures, most dogs are happiest with a consistent schedule. They like knowing when they'll go for walks, have potty breaks, and get their meals. Think about it. If you were completely dependent on someone else for food, wouldn't you want to know when to expect your next meal? Here's a perfect example. During the holidays, when schedules get crazy, many pet owners notice their dogs acting up. They might start having accidents in the house or showing anxiety behaviors. And no, this isn't your dog being difficult, it's them responding to the stress of an unpredictable routine. A routine helps dogs know what to expect, allowing them to relax. I found that setting up alarms on my phone for feeding times and walks helps maintain consistency even on busy days. Your schedule doesn't have to be military precise, but having general time frames for important activities can make a huge difference in your dog's behavior and happiness. Now, even when you have a great routine in place, there's another common mistake that can cause frustration for both you and your pup, and that's having unreasonable expectations. Your dog is, well, a dog. Yet many people expect their pets to be perfect or handle tough situations better than they reasonably could. Just the other day, I visited a friend with an enthusiastic Labrador who jumped all over me. While I didn't mind, my friend got angry at his dog. And when I asked how much training he'd done to prevent the jumping, he admitted not much. It's unfair to get upset with dogs when we haven't taught them how to behave properly. Let me tell you about a puppy class I observed recently. A couple brought in their 16-week German Shepherd expecting him to know basic commands without any previous training. They were frustrated that he wouldn't heel perfectly on walks or come when he called while other dogs were playing nearby. That's like expecting a toddler to understand calculus. Once we helped them set realistic milestones based on their pup's age and experience, everyone was much happier. Speaking of things we should be teaching our dogs, let's talk about something that often gets neglected: nail care. This is a topic close to my heart because my own dog, Bailey, had serious nail issues when I first adopted her. Her previous owners had never trimmed her nails, and they were so long they were affecting her own walk. While dogs might seem happier skipping their nail trims in the short term, long nails can lead to deformed or injured feet. And here's the tricky part. The quick, which contains the blood vessel and nerves inside the nail, grows along with the nail. This means you simply can't cut long nails back to their original length without causing pain and bleeding. I learned this the hard way when I tried to fix Bailey's nails all at once. Instead, we had to take a gradual approach, trimming just a tiny bit every week. It took 3 long months to get her nails to a healthy length again, but the patience paid off. Now she actually offers her paw for nail trim because we built that trust slowly. And it's not just nail care that matters. Basic hygiene plays a huge role in your dog's well-being. I remember working with a rescue dog who had never been brushed regularly. His coat was so matted that it was causing skin infections underneath. It took weeks of gentle grooming sessions to get him comfortable with being touched and properly groomed. Regular dental care, baths, and coat brushing might not be your dog's favorite activities, but they're essential for their health. Think of it like going to the dentist. Not always fun, but necessary for good health. And here's a tip that worked wonders with my dogs. Start with just touching the grooming tools while giving them treats. Let them sniff the brush, the toothbrush, even the nail clippers. Make it a positive experience before you even start using them. And while we're on the topic of keeping your dog healthy, here's something that might surprise you. Using harsh cleaning chemicals in your home can really affect your pet. This hit home for me when my neighbor's dog developed a persistent cough that turned out to be related to their brand new cleaning routine. And yes, there was a big shift towards natural products for a while, but many people increased their use of strong chemicals in 2020. These substances can be harmful to dogs when present in the air or on the floors where they walk and play. Remember, your dog's nose is much more sensitive than yours, and they're closer to the ground where these chemicals concentrate. I've been using pet-friendly products for years, and the difference is night and day. My dogs used to leave the room when I cleaned. Now, they stay relaxed and comfortable. Plus, I found that vinegar and baking soda can clean just about anything. This brings us to another health-related issue that some pet parents overlook: skipping preventative medicine. I once fostered a dog who came to us with heartworm disease because his previous owners didn't think prevention was necessary. The treatment was lengthy, expensive, and uncomfortable for the dog, all of which could have been avoided with regular preventative medication. Whether it's a flea, tick, or heartworm prevention, these medications are crucial for your dog's health and well-being. Even if you prefer natural approaches, it's important to work with your vet to find the right preventative care for your pup. My own vet shared a great analogy. Preventative medicine is a lot like wearing a seatbelt. You hope you never need it, but you're grateful to have it when you do. Now here's something that might be sabotaging your training efforts without you realizing it: inconsistency. This reminds me of a funny situation with my own dog Parker. We were trying to teach him not to jump on the couch, but my roommate would secretly let him up when I wasn't home. Poor Parker was so confused. He couldn't understand why the same behavior got different responses. If you occasionally allow your dog to pull on the leash to greet their doggy friend, they'll be confused when you don't permit this behavior at other times. Dogs thrive on consistent rules and expectations. When we send mixed signals, it makes it harder for them to understand what we want. So here's a great tip. Have a family meeting and make sure everyone's on the same page with training rules. Write them down if you need to. Consistency across all family members will help your dog learn much faster. Speaking of confusion, let's talk about something that can really upset your dog's stomach: changing their food too quickly. I learned this one the hard way with my rescue dog Luna many years ago. When she first came home, I was excited to switch her to what I thought was better food. Well, that was a big mistake. The sudden change led to 2 days of upset stomach that neither of us want to remember. Instead of switching foods abruptly, use the 10% rule. Start with 90% old food and 10% new food on day 1. The next day, make it 80% old food and 20% new food. I actually keep a little measuring cup in my dog's food bin now to make this process easier. And here's a pro tip. If your dog has a sensitive stomach, you might want to stretch this transition out even longer. The same gradual approach applies when switching from puppy to adult food or when your vet recommends a dietary change. One of my clients marks it on their calendar to make sure they're adjusting the ratios correctly. A little planning can prevent a lot of digestive drama. Just like we need to take it slow with food changes, the same applies to training. This really hits home for me because I made a mistake with my first dog. I tried teaching him to stay in a dog park on day 1. Talk about setting us up both for failure. Moving too fast in training is a common mistake many pet parents make, and it usually leads to frustration for everyone involved. When teaching a new command like sit, start in a quiet room with no distractions. I call this the boring bedroom method. It's where all great training begins. Once they've mastered that, gradually add complexity. Maybe try it in the kitchen while you're cooking, then in the backyard, then with another person present. It's like learning any new skill. You need to master the basics before moving on to more challenging situations. I recently helped a friend train their dog to walk nicely on a leash. They were getting frustrated trying to practice in front of their busy apartment building. We backed up and started in their hallway instead. 2 weeks later, they were ready for the sidewalk, and now they're pros at neighborhood walks. Remember, progress isn't about speed, it's about building a solid foundation. You know how sometimes you just need to stretch your legs or get some fresh air? Well, your dog has natural needs too. This one really opened my eyes when I started studying canine behavior. We often forget that dogs are animals too with natural instincts that need to be satisfied. Ignoring these instincts, like the need to sniff, chew, and run, can lead to frustrated pups who develop unwanted behaviors. I had a client whose dog was destroying furniture when left alone, and it turns out they weren't providing enough appropriate chewing outlets. Once we introduced puzzle toys and designated chew time, the destructive behavior stopped. So here's what I call the natural needs checklist, and it includes daily sniffing opportunities, safe chewing options, physical exercise appropriate for their age and breed, mental stimulation through training or puzzle toys, and social interaction with humans, and if they enjoy it, other dogs. This leads us to one of the most damaging mistakes pet parents can make: using punishment. I remember watching a heartbreaking scene at a park, an owner yelling at their dog for not coming when called. With each angry call, the dog got more scared and ran further away. It was a perfect example of how punishment can damage the trust between dog and owner. While yelling might stop unwanted behavior temporarily, it creates fear and damages your relationship with your dog. Think about it. Do you want your relationship to be based on fear and dominance, or mutual respect and trust? I used to think a stern voice was necessary for training, but when I switched to positive reinforcement, the results were amazing. Not only did my dogs learn faster, but they also started offering good behaviors without being asked. So here's a real-world example. My neighbor's dog used to bark at every delivery person. Yelling "no" didn't help. It just added to the noise and excitement. Instead, we taught him that delivery people meant treats and praise. Now he quietly watches them come and go, sometimes even wagging his tail. The power of positive reinforcement is truly remarkable. And finally, here's a mistake that even experienced dog owners make: assuming all dogs are the same. Let me share a story about two dogs from the same litter that I worked with. Despite having identical genetics and upbringing, one was outgoing and food motivated, while the other was reserved and preferred praise over treats. Their owners had to develop completely different training approaches because what worked for one simply did not work for the other. Even with the same breed, each dog has unique characteristics, needs, and personalities. What works for one dog might not work for the other. Some dogs are naturally more energetic, some are more reserved, and some need more patience with training. The key is to become a student of your own dog. Learn their quirks, preferences, and personality traits. This understanding will help you build a stronger bond and make training more effective. I always tell new dog owners to spend the first few weeks just observing their dog. Watch how they respond to different situations, what motivates them, and what makes them nervous, and what brings them joy. This observation period is invaluable for creating a tailored approach to your dog's care and training. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you understand your furry friend just a little bit better. Remember, being a great dog parent isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to learn and adjust our own behavior to help our dogs thrive. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more dog care tips and tricks.